Okay, welcome to this webinar, All Taxis Electric in 2020 by Pierre Steenberghen. My name is Frederike Demmers and I'm the moderator of today. And next to me you see Pierre Steenberghen. First, I'd like to say welcome to our presenter, Pierre, and also welcome to our participants. I see that people are coming in, so that's really great. And we have a very diverse public. They're coming from 8 different countries, so that's really great. First, I would like to introduce Pierre to you all. He is the Secretary General of GTL, the National Taxi Association in Belgium. And he's also a member of the International Road Transport Union, the IRU, the Evaluation Committee for Taxi Smartphone App Services. Pierre, I would like to give you the floor so you can start with your presentation.
Thank you. So the title is very ambitious. You see All Taxis Electric in 2020. It's an ambition. I am not 100% sure that it will be like that, but we will explain how we hope to go into that objective. So I will give you first, explain you what we are, who we are. GTL is a national federation in Belgium for the taxis, and we are founded in 1964, present in Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels, and representing the taxi industry in the 3 regions. Belgium has less taxis than other countries around in Europe. When I look to the Netherlands, for instance, it's quite different because we are less involved in public transport, but we have 10,000 drivers in Belgium, and it are mostly small and medium enterprises. Altogether, this represents 8,265 vehicles. And in Belgium, we have 2 categories, the real taxis you see in the cities, and then the private hire vehicles, like you see also in other countries. Mietwagen in Deutschland, call it differently in other countries, the limousines in America, voiture de tourisme avec chauffeur, voiture de location avec chauffeur. You have different names in several countries, but in the Netherlands, for instance, they call it all taxis. In Belgium, we are still for a different license for the 2. The sector, the industry in Belgium works with 65% employees as drivers and 35% as self-employed. We have 10, and I should say more mobile apps, but 10 serious mobile apps, and they represent 5% of the rides. For the total national taxi industry, we come to 100,000 rides per day. And if you look on a yearly base, you come to 35 million passengers per year. The standard in Belgium is one taxi vehicle per 1,000 inhabitants in a city or a village. And then the eco score, but we will speak more about it later in this presentation, for the taxis is 58. But we will explain what that figure means. I would say taxis contribute, because the presentation is going about electric taxis. For the moment, taxis already contribute to a better environment. As you know, most vehicles are equipped with track and trace equipment, sending information to the dispatch center, the central. And this is good because it minimizes the empty kilometers. We have also, it's also imposed by the government that the age of the taxi vehicles is limited to 7 years. And we have 6 monthly vehicle inspections also on emissions of the vehicles. And also taxis are complementary to other public transport modes. And as you know, public transport is good because it limits the number of private cars on the ways. We are all agreed that public transport has to be promoted. Well, taxis are part of it. So you have fewer vehicles in the cities. One taxi transports about 20 people per day. Then by starting the e-taxi project, well, we know that taxis represent an important part of the air pollution. They are also one of the air polluters. As you know, 22% of greenhouse gas emissions are due to not on the taxis, to the taxis, but to the traffic as a general. And taxis are a part of the traffic in the cities. They share a high proportion. In many countries, taxis represent 10 to 20% of urban traffic volume and contribute in such a way to a large proportion of urban air pollution. So electric taxis represent a good investment in cleaner cities. That's why we think they are the future. And we as an industry in Belgium, but also in Europe, it's the same tendency. We recognize the need to move in that direction, more electric taxis. When you look to the current policy on electric taxis and electric vehicles in Belgium, electric vehicles as a whole, you see that the Flemish government decided on an action plan on clean power for transport. It's linked to the European directive, which imposes the countries and the regions to take initiatives. And the Flemish government decided to focus on niche markets, specific fleets such as buses, but also car sharing, taxis, express mail services, and so on. So also on taxis. And that's interesting for us as taxi industry sector. So we were very interested by this initiative, and they decided also to raise funds for initiatives.
Pierre.
But for the rest, in the two other regions of
yeah, I just wanted to know, why is the taxi a niche market? Is it because of the example of the e-taxi project, or can you explain that?
Well, because the taxis, because the government controls the taxis. Taxis are depending on licenses. The government controls the industry, and they are also an example in the cities. When you start with something new, it's nice to have one little group of vehicles representing. They are rather all the same, and you could say, well, we go for that market doing this and that and that. So the government, the cities can decide to oblige the taxi industry to take some initiatives and to change in a certain way. So that's why we could consider that one market controlled by the government and the cities.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
But if you look to the last years, we started very late. In 2013, there was no electric vehicle in the Belgian taxi industry until 2013. And it started with the Brussels government, who did a call for candidates for 50 new licenses. They said, we put 50 new licenses on the market, only for electric taxis. And it was a success because in October 2014, it was all completely, there were candidates for all these licenses. And it was with BYD, Nissan Leaf, and Renault Zoe, the three kinds of vehicles you see in Brussels as electric taxis. So that was end of 2014. And then in 2016, also in Flanders, we had no electric taxis. In 2016, we started GTL with an environmental NGO, BBLV, Bon Beter Leefmilieu Vlaanderen, a partnership for the launch of a project on a study on the feasibility and potential of electric taxis in Flanders. There were pilots. We had the first electric taxis in Flanders in 2016. It was still very limited, only 3 vehicles, but it was our intention to see what the problems are. Why don't we start with electric taxis until now? And what can we do? So we launched a new project, and that's really new. It's our ambition to have at least, because the titles say all electric taxis, at least 10% electric taxis in Flanders in 2020. 5 cities, but we hope to go further because it's changing very quickly, and we will see it further in the presentation. And what is important, we involve 5 cities in Flanders: Antwerp, Ghent, Leuven, Mechelen, and Bruges. And these 5 cities have decided to go for electric taxis, and their their way to see the taxi sector will change in the coming months. They will really promote and decide on the use of electric taxis in these cities. So we see change for the coming months. Then the eco score. During the project, we analyzed the eco score of the vehicles in Belgium. The eco score is used in some European countries, but not in all. It's a way to have the fingerprint of the taxi sector, the environmental performances of the vehicles. It's a figure between 0 and 100. And the higher the score, the better the performance of the car. Well, in Belgium, the average, we found out the average of the eco score is 57. And when we look to the average eco score of the taxi fleet, I don't know if you see it now already. I don't know if you can see it now. No. I suppose the figure for the taxi cabs in Flanders, it's 56. I suppose you can see that. Taxi cabs in Brussels, 60, and taxi cabs in Wallonia, 58. It's the best in Brussels, the highest score. Why? Because of these electric taxis. But when you look to Flanders, 56, it's less than the average of the cars in Belgium. So we were not very proud when we saw that the taxis are not clean vehicles. And that's because we use a lot of diesels in the taxi industry. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to ask: is who decides what the score is? Is that electric car scores 100, or is it yeah?
Yeah, it's rather scientific, but it's taking into account different aspects. You have the consumption, you have the emissions, you have the use of energy. You have also the at the end of the use of the car, when the new life of the car after the life as a taxi or as a vehicle. How do you? Yeah.
And so someone or. Okay, so someone or an organization that knows this kind of vehicle, if you score that and then that, then you get that much points. That score.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recognized, and some countries use officially.
Okay. I also see a question of René Theo, and he asked, will the type of vehicle be a condition for a taxi license?
No, there are not really. Yeah, in the cities, they and in Brussels there are conditions, but it's more like Euro 6 or Euro 5, the European standard. In some countries, no, and also on the age of the vehicles. So they can say maximum 6 years old, or maximum 250,000 kilometers. That's these are the conditions, but not on the type of vehicle. In Brussels, they put also an eco score as a condition, but I am not sure. But I think it's 58. But now in Brussels, they are when you take it totally, it's 60 for all vehicles together.
Okay, and I also see. Sorry, just wanted to ask the question of Karl-Heinz Posch, and he asked what would be the score of a Renault Zoe or a Tesla S?
I don't know if the next figure is showing it, but no, I don't have all the details. I will send you to the study. I give you a link to the study there. You can see these figures, but I can't give you all these details now. It was not put in my presentation. But we did also a study on all these vehicles. It's a pity that I can't give you all the details now.
I can send the details or the report afterwards to all the participants. That's no problem. Yeah.
I can give you an answer to that question, because it was also part of the study to see the eco scores. I don't think, maybe we will look, but if you look to the eco score of the vehicles, you see in Belgium, you see that most vehicles are between 51 and 60. That's the main group. And you see between 71 and 80. Well, these are the electric taxis in Brussels. The eco score of 71 to 80. These are the electric taxis in Brussels, but you see also vehicles with 41 to 50. That's horrific. These vehicles shouldn't be on the road. So, but this shows, and the most important group are the diesels, of course, between 51 and 60. But it's not so fine. We were not very proud about that, and we have to change that absolutely. That's on the basis of a decision to do something in the future. So we looked also to the cost of the electric taxis, and therefore we use another concept, another system. It's the total cost of ownership. It's not only the cost of buying a car, it's also the cost of different things. It's like an iceberg. The cost of buying the car is only a little part of the cost for a company when you buy the vehicle. So you see some aspects, some different coefficients, and no, not coefficients, but elements playing a role. And then in the total cost of ownership, we came to we started from one type. It's ownership of 4 years, distance in kilometers per year, 100,000. And then we compared the costs, and we saw that fuel and electricity cost is 1,000. No, what do I say? 1.02 euro per liter diesel, or 0.19 and then 42 per kilowatt hour for electricity vehicles. The purchase price. In the purchase price, we take also into account 3,000 euro resale value of the vehicle, and taxes. You'd have to take into account that taxis don't pay the annual road tax. The first year you have the registration tax, but and also the deductibility, 100% for all the costs are deductible for the taxes. The taxes you have to pay on income. Independent of the car technology, it's always 100%. For the insurance, taxis have a special insurance, more expensive than a normal insurance. And then you have the battery cost when you take the cost of the electric vehicles. For Tesla, it's different because they have no battery cost, as you have 8-year warranty with no limits on kilometers. And then you have the maintenance cost. When I speak about battery cost, I mean the change of the batteries, change of the batteries. But a Tesla has a warranty of 8 years. Then the maintenance costs. That's the different elements we take into account in the analysis of the total cost of ownership. And when we look then to the different types of vehicles, so I don't have the explanation for the eco score, but I have the explanation for the total cost of ownership. You can see different types of vehicles. You see that the different types here, the Mercedes B-Class. Yeah, we took Mercedes because they are much used in the taxi branch, in the taxi industry. And then the B-Class e-vehicle. The first row is the Mercedes B-Class diesel. Then you have the Mercedes B-Class electric drive. And then you have the Mercedes E-Class, most used as taxis in Belgium, diesel. Then the Skoda Superb. And the next one is a Nissan Leaf. I can't read it myself because it's not in the total mode. And then the last one is a Tesla. If you look to the total cost, which is the highest, has the highest cost is the Tesla. Of course, it's a very expensive vehicle, and the cost of buying a car is very high. You have little battery costs. Battery costs are in green, so you have little battery costs. But when you look to the other cars, you see that electric vehicles are interesting. If you take all the costs into account for a company, taxi company, you see that the Nissan Leaf, for instance, is the most interesting. It's an electric car, most interesting of all. You have you don't have the diesel cost and only some electric costs, but not so much electric power. You have an important battery cost, but that's also limited. If you compare all these cars, you see that electric cars are interesting. Only the Tesla, the best car for the taxis, I would say, because it's the biggest one. Only the Tesla is the most expensive. So that's an important figure because it shows that electric taxis are interesting for the taxi industry, but it are little cars. So when you take a multifunctional vehicle segment, I mean the minibuses you use for other purposes in the taxi industry, also for disabled people and so on. You need bigger cars, bigger vehicles. Then you see that also the Mercedes Vito has a higher total cost of ownership than the Nissan electric vehicle. And also here it's interesting to see that because if you don't take into account only the price of buying the car, it's interesting to have an electric vehicle. So that was an interesting conclusion of the whole study. Then, so that's the conclusions, which I already explained. Total cost of a Nissan Leaf is better than the one of a B-class, if you compare it to vehicles. Total cost of a Nissan, so for the bigger vehicles of a Nissan, is always cheaper than the total cost of Mercedes Vito. And we also see that the cost of the battery, replacing the battery pack, is important in the total cost of ownership. It's an important part of the cost. But it's changing in the future because new batteries are coming on the market. There's also a marketing aspect in going to electric vehicles. If you go green, it improves your customer relations. It helps to attract new customers, and hotels, business customers like to ask for an electric vehicle because they themselves have their own corporate social responsibility ambitions and want to show that they go for green technology also when they use taxis. So it's positive also. It's also unique. Taxi companies investing in these kinds of vehicles show that they are smart, they are responsible, and it's showing your entrepreneurship also. It shows also that you are innovative. And then also important, the comfort. The rides are pleasant, quiet. It makes no noise when you use an electric car. It's really appreciated by the users of the vehicles. They really like it. And that was also important to see that. They like to go in an electric taxi. So all positive. We developed a long-term vision for the taxi industry during our study, and of course, you need an adapted. Our vision is that we need an adapted town and country planning. We know that modal shift is in the pipeline, the different transport mode, and in this modal shift, the electric transport modes, shared electric transport modes, are one of the key elements. That's what we think. We know that we have to go to zero greenhouse gas emissions of road transport in 2040. now we are representing 22% of the emissions, the traffic. Well, we have to go to zero emission. That's decided internationally. So 2040, that's 23 years from here. It's not so far away. We have to go into that direction. So for the taxi industry, it represents also huge challenges if we want to go for alternatives which respond to these requirements. So we have to go for the full electrification of the fleet, and therefore charging infrastructure must be developed and installed. And also, if we go for electric vehicles, we have to be sure that it comes from renewable energy sources. That's also important. To produce electricity with coals and fuel, makes no sense to go for electricity. So we need renewable sources of production of electricity. And then we think that taxis, which are mostly in urban areas, play an important role to go to zero emissions in the way into 2040. They have a strong impact. What is also important, and that's what the Flemish government saw too, the taxi industry has an important visibility in the streets. They can help to the complete society to go into in the transition to zero emission road transport, because they can create more confidence of the people in the new technologies. Many people don't know what an electric taxi is, and if tomorrow in the cities you see a lot of electric taxis, they will see what it is to have, what it is an electric taxi. No, they don't. Many people don't know it. They don't see them in the streets because they are not enough. So the taxis can play an important role. And then we decided that no fossil fuel cars should be added to the taxi fleets after 2025. We said 2025 is the last year that new cars can be added to the taxi industry, into the taxi fleets, which are not electric driven. So that was the decision in our project. We said from 2025 on, only electric vehicles could be put in. You can't say from today until tomorrow change all vehicles. You have to go progressively, but 2025 is the limit. But this is provided that some conditions are fulfilled. We can't do it alone. We need charging infrastructure and offering this 100% green electricity. And when we ask charging infrastructure, we shouldn't have to wait 6 months or 1 year to have load infrastructure, because that's also a problem. If we buy electric vehicles, we need quickly the charging infrastructure. And in Belgium, they are starting very lately with all these initiatives, because when we look to the Netherlands, for instance, they say offer of loading infrastructure first, and then demand will follow. In Belgium, they say the contrary. They say first demand of electric infrastructure, charging infrastructure, and then we will offer the loading infrastructure. Well, that's we are not so happy with that, and if they go on with that this way of working, we won't come from the ground. So, and we also need optimal driving and loading times, because taxi companies are working with drivers, and these drivers can't wait until the batteries are loaded. So the loading times have to be optimized. And there are solutions. For instance, taxi ranks. During some hours of the days, many taxis are standing at taxi ranks in the cities, waiting for, because it's not peak hours in the morning or the evening, but during the day. Well, at these places, at stations or airports and so on, they could, by induction, for instance, from under the vehicle, they could be charged. I think we should go into that direction. It's important to provide these possibilities. And then we need also special trainings for drivers because it's very different to use an electric vehicle or another vehicle. Okay. So that was also one of the.
Yeah. Pierre, I see a question of René. He says driving a smaller electric taxi is interesting. He says, why do you need a pilot in 5 cities?
Why we need a pilot in 5 cities?
Yeah, you did a pilot in, yeah.
Yeah, but it's better in 5 cities than 1 city.
Okay. Just you wanted to start big.
You mean why not in the whole country?
For example,
why
yeah.
5 and not 1?
Yeah.
No, 5 cities because taxis are mainly situated in cities, and bigger cities are more dynamic. In little cities, it's more difficult to develop such to change everything. I think you need rather bigger city to do something, and we try to have the most important cities in Flanders following us. So yeah. I think if these cities are doing it, the rest will follow very quickly. It's important because the taxis are managed by the cities in Belgium. It are the cities who decide about everything, and that's foreseen in the law is saying the cities have to organize the taxi industry, the taxi branch, and that's why we have to decide it with the cities. Then some other things we need also are the technical improvements of electric cars, but I think it's all going very well. Many things are changing when you look to new vehicles, and the optimal utilization of the vehicles is crucial. The problem now is that when you have a vehicle going for 200 kilometers, when you're reaching the 150 kilometers, you can't take a new client. You have to stop and to load the battery. That's not very interesting. It's not a good utilization of your vehicle. Taxi vehicle should be used. One driver is working 7-8 hours a day. Well, it would be better if he could always drive with his car and not stop after 3 hours or 2 hours. They don't like that. That's a problem also we saw in the project. The drivers are not always happy because in Belgium drivers are paid in percentage of their journeys, of their income. So we also want to improve digital platforms for shared taxi journeys. I think that could also help to go in a good direction if you could share the taxi. And there are some new apps making this possible. They have been started this year in Brussels and Louvain. I will say the name. It's a Split in Brussels. It's working rather well. You can decide during your ride. You can say, well, I would like to have somebody else if somebody else is going the same direction. And immediately you can say who is interested to go also in your taxi. I think you have to combine this with electric vehicles if you can. It's good because you can also split the price. It's not only the vehicle, but also the price of the fares. So we have to go to less empty trips and optimal utilization of the fleets. And we need regulation change because everything is changing so quickly in the taxi industry that if you start also with electric vehicles, you have to adapt the regulation on some aspects because electric taxis were not existing in the last years. So here you see the different vehicles actually on the market, which could be used as a taxi. You see they are all rather little vehicles, but some of them are good as taxi, and the price is not so high. When you look to the price, it's higher than a normal vehicle, but it's possible. But what interests us the most is the range of the vehicles. If you look to this Mercedes here, it's 200 kilometers. That's not enough for a taxi. A taxi has to go to do more kilometers per day. We have 75,000 to 100,000 kilometers per year. So with 200 kilometers on with your battery, you can't do enough, or it's a problem. That's really the main problem. It's the range of the vehicles, but it's really changing. And so the range and the charging infrastructure, these are the two most important things. Current generation, 150 to 200 kilometers, that was also the vehicle used in Antwerp. That's really not enough. The drivers had to stop after 2 or 3 hours, and it was really frustrating for them. Because of that, they didn't like to use it anymore. They liked the vehicle, they liked to be appreciated by the clients, but the range was really too low. And that has to change, but it is changing. And we know that the new generation coming on the market has a radius of 300 kilometers and more. Tesla is, of course, at the top. We hope the prices will also not be at the top. The range depends on several factors also in the taxi. The weather conditions, because you have to heat the cars in the winter and to cool the cars in the summer. That's taking a lot of electricity. The driving style is also playing a role. But also, taxis are equipped with electronic devices, taximeter, a printer, a board computer, and finally also a top light on the roof. Well, all these devices are using electricity, and that's complicating also the transition. So the batteries have to improve. But after the project, the first phases of the project, we are conscious that it's only a beginning, and very important is dialogue between the taxi industry and the stakeholders. And that's what we are now focusing on. The cities and also the electricity producers, the charging infrastructure, all these people have to collaborate. And now we are really going for that, bringing all the people around the table. That's the next step starting now. On the 1st of January, it will really be boosted. We will bring all the people regularly around the table and go for solutions quickly in the coming months and years. And we formulated also recommendations with our study to prepare the ground for the taxi companies also, but also for the cities. Because many people are saying, yeah, we would like to go for electric transition to electric vehicles, but how do we have to do it? Well, we prepared also recommendations. They are now on the website. You can find them here with the link. In Dutch, 18 pages. The complete study is of 78 pages. I can't send it, but you could ask me by email if you want it. You see my email address, and I could send you also the complete study of 78 pages, but it's in Dutch for the moment. I think the IRU is going to translate the 18 pages into English and other. So I wanted also rapidly to say something about apps, because that's really what many people think about Uber and all these apps on the market. Well, you see here, it's really an explosion of apps. You find them all on, not all, only some of them from Europe, more mainly from Europe. You see that many of them are developed now on the market. But in a way, too many, I think too many. And people have to know, because now they say Uber because it's active in the whole world. Well, we have also apps working in different countries. I think about taxi.eu is more than 100,000 taxis linked in Europe. And ECAP is also very present in Europe. But we need an app working in the whole world. And that's why the International Road Transport Union, you see only Transport Union, is the International Road Transport Union, is working now in development of one interface for all these taxi smartphone applications all over the world. So we are looking which are linked to serious taxi companies, legally working, and they are creating really an interface. In Germany, it's already existing for 3 biggest apps in Germany. So if with one of these apps you can call a taxi in any city, nearly any city in Germany. And that was the example. We want to use the same technology and have different apps, most important apps in the world, linked to this interface. So we created with the IRU the global taxi network with taxi federations, but also as partners, the taxi smartphone application providers all over the world. And we have now already providers in the different continents, representing 500,000 taxis, representing also 12% of the worldwide taxi market. You have more than 5 million taxis all over the world, while 12% is already linked to, is already a member of the International Road Transport Union network. But now the next step is to create that interface, that common interface, so that with one of the apps you can go in any country in the world and call your taxi, the nearest taxi. And there you see what there how you could represent it, the different fleet linked to the one or the other app. The IRU also want to create an API that offers access to the global fleet, and it's a kind of platform you could link to the different other, I think, to tourist industry, public transport. Well, it's the idea to have one platform for the whole world, which you could link to different parts of the society. I say public transport is an important user of transport, mobility, but also we try to use a system to connect as much as possible different partners in the system.
Yeah.
And they call it the taxi of the future.
Okay. And Pierre, just a question: is this interface, this general interface for these apps, is that the only answer to the developments, like, for example, the existing of Uber and Lyft and things like that, or are there some more things that you cope with or react on these developments?
You could compare it with Uber and Lyft, because Uber and Lyft is present in the whole world, not the whole world, but in many countries. They work on their own. Here we try to create something using the existing industry and globalize all these different. You have a lot of centrals and dispatch centers in different countries of the world. You have apps, different apps. Well, we want to create a common system for all these things. You have the word taxi. Well, we want the word taxi to be linked to one system, one interface where you can hail it anywhere in the world. Uber is working its own way. They have also a high commission. They ask 25% of the fare. The driver has to give 25% of his income to Uber. Well, there we are not so happy with that. But maybe one day they will be a member of this. But I don't think it's their wish to become a member of this system. They want to do it their own way. But Uber is only one they don't represent the whole industry. That people are forgetting that they're only one partner in the whole global system, and these are still much more important. You can call an Uber, but you can also call a taxi, and we want to develop something for the taxis.
But I think that sorry. What I wanted to say is that the Uber has changed the taxi world. I mean, it has an influence, a big influence on the taxi world.
We had to change. A taxi was always a local activity. When 4 years ago we asked the European Commission to do something for the taxi, they said no, taxi is local. We are not involved in that. Taxi is only local, nothing else. But now you see that it has become global, and we had to find a global solution, and we are developing it. And I think this is really the best solution. Create an interface, and with one app in the whole, you can hail a taxi with your interface. But it has to work. It has to be developed. And now it's time to do it, I think. We have 12% of the taxis in the world member of already linked to an app, member of the network. Well, now we have to link all these apps between the others. In Germany, it's already working. They have to improve it technically, but it's already organized. I didn't show you how we use the app because it's with a little film. But it's very interesting. I think everybody knows that you can use taxi apps. You see the taxi coming when you push on now, and you see the taxi in 2 minutes coming on your smartphone. You see him coming, and when he's there, he's standing in front of you. So it's really useful, and it's a pity that's only 5%, but 5% of the taxi hailing. But most people prefer to call for taxi. But I think in the future it will really be the best system to call a taxi.
Okay.
So I think my presentation is finished now.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? No.
I did see a question of Karl-Heinz Posch. He asked, what is the range needed for a taxi to ride with an electric? What's the range of the battery? How many kilometers? I mean, 200 kilometers is too small. Is 300 the range that is really needed?
Or the better, I would say, but 350 would be a minimum.
Okay.
And that's really the reason why we don't have a massive. I think when the batteries will be okay and the price will be something lower, all taxis will go electric. It's coming. It's really coming very quickly. But the technology has to be there.
Yeah.
And it's the offer of new vehicles and so on is changing, and I think taxis will be the first to change.
Yeah.
Because if they say we don't give new license anymore if you are not an electric taxi, well then you have to change. And we agree that why not? We are going for it. We say to the cities, yes, go for it, and don't give licenses anymore if it's not for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Certainly from 2025 on, but maybe already in the future. In Louvain, Leuven, they will do it from next year on. They will give new licenses only for electric vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions. Only the remark, thank you for your presentation. So, well, that are my words. Thank you, Pierre, very much for your time and for doing your, giving your insights and giving your presentation. I would like to thank all the participants for joining this webinar, and hopefully see you soon at another allinx webinar. And have a nice afternoon. Thanks, Pierre.